Oh man, I'm so excited, I can't believe it. We finally have it, our very first Source Dragon build. I can't wait to open this up. Wait, what? Hi everyone and welcome back to Keep the Peace, and today we have another Ninjago Summer 2024 set review. This time it's set number 71822, Source Dragon of Motion. This set has 1,716 pieces, goes for $149.99 in dollars or euros, or $129.99 in pounds. This is probably the biggest Ninjago dragon ever, and that's pretty interesting to look at. We got this set sent to us along with the others from the LEGO Ambassador Network, so big thank you to them for letting me do this review. But that being said, I'm going to give you my honest opinions about this set. Real quick, before we get into the set itself, the box of the set is once again one of these boxes that opens like this. So they do that for pretty much all of the bigger sets in this wave. That being said, it's time to look at the set itself. Here is everything we get in this massive set, and we can clearly see the main build is of course the big Source Dragon of Motion. The dragon has the throne build on top here, which can be taken off, and it features the Gong of Shattering and a wolf head here. We get these 6 little spirit dragons, always 2 on one of these 3 little stands, and we of course get our minifigures, which are 1 Wolf Mask Warrior, Jordana, Lord Raz, Aaron, Kai, and Wildfire. We'll start with our minifigures, with the first 3 being the ninja. From left to right we have Kai, Wildfire, and Aaron. Kai and Aaron having their new suits for this wave, and Wildfire using the same one we got last wave. These new suits for the ninja are called tournament armor, not to be confused with the tournament robes. We can see here on Kai that they have no sleeves, they use the half mask, and in Kai's case the hair and headband combo piece. Both Kai and Aaron get this new armor piece in this set. It's a new piece with this curved shoulder armor plate and can hold 2 katanas on the back. Kai gets some super nice printing as well. It has these little dragon scales, a golden bit of armor here next to the shoulder armor with this little fire pattern printed on it, and we also have this little band spelling out MOF, which I assume stands for Master of Fire. The band ends in this little dragon emblem. The print continues on the legs of course with some very subtle knee pads down here and Ninjago K for Kai. Wildfire's new suit we already saw in the March sets. This one has the newer hairpiece. She uses the same like face she had in the earlier sets, and she also has this spiky dark tan armor piece. On her torso she has some printed armor as well, and her gi has this really nice pattern with these little stripes on it. On the back, Wildfire has this little fire guy and the letters WF and an exclamation mark. Aaron has his hairpiece, his standard face, and the very controversial dark blue half mask. The prints on his torso kind of look like a jacket with some pockets. There's a very subtle dragon design on it and Ninjago A on his legs. If we remove some of the accessories, we get a better look, especially at Kai and Aaron's faces. Out of these 3 minifigures, only Kai has an alternate face though. You can see the other face here on the back, as well as a better look at the back printing on Kai and Aaron. Kai has a dragon design with some fiery horns and Ninjago K, and Aaron has the logo that spelled out his names. We first saw this logo in the buggy car last wave. We of course get accessories for these figures. Kai gets a double blade built with these new shorter sword pieces, as well as another normal and another short katana on the back in his armor piece. Wildfire gets one of the new short katana pieces, and she actually gets 2 of these fire blast pieces. Then we also have Aaron of course. He gets a new version of his grappling hook, which uses the same piece and it has a little hilt on it now. Like Kai, he also gets a short and a normal katana to put into the armor piece. As usual, Wildfire's fire blast, or I guess heat blast pieces, can be shot by pressing on them here in the back. Next up we have our villains. From left to right we have Lord Raz, a Wolf Mask Warrior, and Jordana. Raz of course uses his tiger head, but now it has red stripes instead of purple. This new version of Raz has a Crystal Council armor piece in gunmetal gray, and he once again gets wonderful arm printing. This time it features red stripes and these big blue braces on his lower arms. He also has red hands now. On his torso, Ram seems to abandon the concept of shirts, but instead he seems to just wear these 2 blue blades and a belt. His legs feature more of that blue armor and some little black patterns here in the top. The Wolf Mask Warrior has a new recolor for the Wolf Mask piece, now in purple and red. He has this black neck bracket piece that allows us to attach the big energy claws. I'll show that off in a second. And the prints of the new Wolf Mask Warriors feature a lot more like reddish colors on this gunmetal torso, as well as some silver armor with the wolf symbol and the letters SD here in the center, which I assume stands for Shadow Dojo. Jordana has her same hair and head she had in the last wave, but she now gets the Shatter Spin armor with fur on one side and these claws on the other. I wonder if she'll be able to do Shatter Spin in the new season. Maybe it's really because she got possessed by one of the Forbidden Five. She has dark red hands, has this very sci-fi armor that kind of looks a bit like a Nexo Knight suits with these little like copper details. I really like the new prints for her. It's probably related to her Imperium past in some way. Her suit also features a purple belt with the letters SD. On the back you can see her armor piece features this little symbol in the middle, and you can also see already that she has the wolf symbol on the back. Removing some of the accessories from these minifigures let us see some of the details that were previously covered by like armor pieces. We can see Jordana has an alternate face here. You also get a look at the face underneath the wolf mask, and it's the same one we had since January. Looking at the back of these figures, you can see that on the other side we have the other face for Jordana and the warrior, and we can see the back printing on all of these figures. They all get some version of the wolf symbol, but in very different styles matching their torso prints. Our villains also get accessories, of course. Lord Raz gets a brick-built hammer with some trans red details. The other two here get this dual molded blade piece we first saw last wave. This piece is dual molded in trans red and gunmetal. On the Wolf Mask Warrior, we can attach these big energy claws to the back here with these little clips. These use a new trans red piece that lets you connect the 3 claws here in the front, and we can pose the arms up and down like this a bit and move the claws pretty well. You can have a minifigure standing with these on the back, but depending on how you pose it, it can be very hard to have it stand, and it does fall over quite easily. So you might want to use these claws to actually like add some stability to the figure, or just put it on a studded area. Not really minifigures, but potentially characters. We have these 6 little spirit dragons on these 3 stands. I wonder if these are the dragon spirits we saw in the one scene where Lloyd has like the vision of the Source Dragon Council, but I think those had different colors and all of these are trans orange, so maybe they're all like motion themed, I don't know. They are of course each attached to one of these little transparent stands. They're built with an antenna and a dish. Then we always have one on top and one on the side, the one on the side connected with a clip. Looking at these individually, I think there's a really nice new mold, which looks especially nice in this transparent color. It looks very fiery, and they just of course stand on one stud. It's time to move on to the Source Dragon of Motion itself. This is an incredibly big Ninjago dragon with a pretty standard body shape. We have a long neck in the front, 4 legs, 2 wings, and a tail in the back. On top of the dragon we have this big throne, and that can of course be taken off if you don't want to have it on your Source Dragon. I want to show you the dragon from a couple of different angles here. Like this, you can kind of see the back a lot more. Here is the other side. You can see the dragon is mostly symmetrical except for some of the smaller details. Here you can see the torso from the side to give you an idea of how long it is. And here a bit of a front view where you can see the massive horns on the head. Just to give you an idea how big this dragon actually is, I want to give you some size comparisons right here in the beginning. Here we have what I would have at least considered one of the biggest dragons Ninjago has ever done, the Golden Ultra Dragon. And you can see here, while it looks quite bulky, that's mostly the many heads, and it's actually quite a bit shorter both in length and the shoulder height than this dragon. So I think it's definitely fair to say this is the biggest Ninjago dragon ever. Next up, here it is next to Firstborn, and yeah, this Source Dragon makes the mother of all dragons look like the child here, especially if you compare the arms here for example, or the length of the torso. Just to see it next to a more medium-sized dragons, here it is next to Heatwave. And finally, the most important of comparisons, the 4+ Source Dragon. Next up, I want to show you all of the articulation in this model. We have a ball joint here in the head, and here of course we can open and close the mouth as well. On the end of the neck we have one of these mech joints, so we can rotate the neck here. It can't really go up and down too much. We can rotate the front legs from here to here, but we can't really move them inwards and outwards. But we have ball joints on the ankles, and of course we can pose the individual claws. Next up, and I think this is really cool, we can pose the wings up and down, as well as rotate them and pose them forward and backward like this. We also have a joint in the torso where we can pose it side to side here in the middle. This is really well incorporated into the build. The back legs can also be rotated forward and back, and we once again have ball joints and these claws on the feet. Finally, the tail is once again on one of these mech joints in the end, so we can rotate it and move it up and down. The rest of the tail just moves side to side. So with all that posability, we can try to get into some dynamic poses here. The set is quite heavy, but it stands quite well on all 4 feet. But we want to test how far we can push it here. We can of course pose the head and rotate it outward like this. Maybe move one leg forward and the other one back. And I found out you can have one of the back legs up in the air. That doesn't seem to work with the front legs in my experience. And then maybe just like angle the tail a little bit, and I think that makes for quite the cool stepping pose. Maybe we can adjust the torso a bit and angle the wings forward just to show that that's possible too. But yeah, this position is not really that stable anymore, as you can see, so that was probably the limit of what we can do here. If we want to take up the throne from the dragon, we first want to detach this chain. So we just disconnect it from the neck on both sides and then from the throne itself. And that way we can just take off that whole chain out like this. After that, we have to disconnect these little bars from the dragon. So you just fold these up like this. You can see there's a little clip that connects them to the dragon. And then we just do the same on the other side and we can take off the throne. Let's look at the throne build on its own. We have the wolf head up top here, and I wonder if that's supposed to be the same wolf head from the Shadow Dojo, which would mean this dragon is like even bigger in the show than it is here. Below it we have the Gong of Shattering hanging in this Technic construction with a bunch of spikes, and we have some little banners and some little torches here. Down there we kind of have this spike cage area and the throne here. In that lower area we have the chains attached to the front, and we can just take these off very easily to get some better visibility. Here on the bottom we have a sticker on this Nexonite shield with some kind of red symbol. All around this thing we have a bunch of different spikes at different angles, of course. Some of them can be adjusted a little bit, but I don't really know what for. All the way in the back we have the throne with the 2 magenta jumpers on it and maybe some kind of carpet in front of it. The back of the throne can be angled up and down and has these little golden spikes on the side. This is of course where you want to put your Lord Ra's minifigure, so we can just have him sit in there and he looks quite comfy in there. There are some tiles with stickers next to him spelling out the words Wolf Clan in red letters, and there's actually quite a lot of stickers in the throne part compared to the rest of the set. There's also a good amount of space here, so we can for example place another figure here like Jordana. On the sides you can see this part that connects to the dragon, and all the way in the back you can see this is mostly like Technic beams, and we have 2 little clips here that allow you to attach the minifigure's weapons. Moving up a little bit, we have these blocks with some kind of spikes here on the sides, and these have like little burnt down candles with some blue flames on them. We of course also have one on the other side, and in the middle we of course get the Gong of Shattering with that wonderful printed minifigure shield spelling out GOS, so Gong of Shattering. With the spinner crown piece around it here of course, and it's hanging on 2 chains. It's a very similar build to the one in the Shadow Dojo. We have 2 small banners up here with wolf symbol stickers on them, and from the back there isn't really anything too interesting to see here. We'll move on all the way to the top. Here we have this little wolf head with some red eyes and this little cheese slope nose, and we have adjustable ears up here. They can go up and down and side to side, so we can do some funny ear poses up here. In the back we can see this is all connected with some Technic pieces, so you can lift this up quite easily. The chain is very simple, it's just built with 3 of those Lego chain pieces. We have 2 of these little connections here with the claws, and 1 connection point in the back where we have the clip that lets us connect the chain to the throne. It's finally time to return to the Source Dragon, and I'll start here with the head. The head is built around these two pre-molded dragon head pieces. None of them are new pieces, but the top one has a new print on it, which is actually quite similar to the 4+ one in design, which I think is quite funny. The lower jar can pose up and down like this, and what I really like about this build is that it kind of like builds around these dragon head pieces with some sloping here on the sides and some golden pieces up top. I kind of like this armor up top. I actually really like that there's two studs here, so we can have Kai, for example, sit on the dragon's head, and I think that's a quite cool position for a minifigure. Looking at the bottom, we can see this is super simple. We have some nougat plates here and this little piece here that covers the studs a little bit. We of course have these huge horns, which also use the new climber hook pieces we first got in like the Kai mech and the buggy car, and I think that's a really cool way of using these pieces. You can see how it's connected up here, and I think they did a great job covering like the little gaps from the Technic construction. On the sides we have these curved golden horn pieces. These are on like clips, so you can kind of adjust them in and out like these here, and the ones here in the back are on clips too, so you can actually pose them quite a lot, but I don't think that's really intended. This is the way they have you do them in the instructions. The head is on a ball joint, so there's a really good amount of articulation here. Behind it we have this long neck that consists of like two main segments. As you can see, the back segment has this big slope with a sticker on it, and we have the same sticker on the other side. It ends with these little golden armor bits here, and between the segments you can see one normal ball joint here and a mech joint all the way in the back. You can't really move it up and down much, only like a little bit, but you can rotate it and pose the ball joint in the front. On top of the neck we mostly have like these red slopes with some trans orange plates in there, maybe to represent some fire or sparks. On the underside you can see the neck is covered in golden armor, and I quite appreciate how this dragon is well covered from almost all sides with some nice armor layering here. The front part of the torso is very well rounded using these curved pieces and different kinds of slopes to round everything off. Overall this is quite well covered, and there are not too many like exposed studs at all. On the top here we have these two crystallized armor pieces and the clips on the sides that let you attach the throne. But when the throne is not there, we have this brown piece here that makes for a pretty good seat for a minifigure. So we can of course, for example, have Wildfire sit on the back of the dragon. Looking at this part of the dragon from below, you can see that even here it is really well covered with some more golden armor. This all comes together quite nicely with the neck of the dragon, so I do really think they did their best to make this set look like fantastic from pretty much all angles. And the way this is done here is also a really cool building technique, because you basically have studs on the top, bottom and sides. Zooming in on the upper arm here in the front, we have some very bulky golden armor with the pieces from the elemental mechs with some extra golden spikes around them. We have another sticker here on each side with the Source Dragon of Motion symbol on them, and the arm underneath is also very nicely sloped, and it achieves this nice rounded shape from all sides. The lower legs use one of these mech armor pieces with Nexo shields on the sides, and they connect to the foot with a ball joint. Behind the ball joint there's this rounded piece that kinda limits the movement a bit. I assume that's for some extra stability. The foot also uses some really cool building techniques to have the 3 studs to 2 studs transition, and we have 2 little trans orange spikes and 3 golden claws that can be posed up and down, as well as side to side like this. What's really cool about these feet is that underneath here we have this rubber Technic piece in the foot, and you can see it here from the bottom, and this adds some extra friction to the foot. That's something they do in mechs quite often, but it makes sense for a heavy dragon like this to do it to add some extra friction. From this back angle you can see there's mostly Mada red here, and you can see the axle that goes from the back through the foot. From the inside of the leg, this is also pretty well covered. There are some studs here, and you can also see how this angle is achieved with the Technic pieces for the lower leg, but overall this looks pretty good, I think. The wings of this dragon are built with a Technic axle frame and these black spikes here at the end, and then we have a big vinyl piece on top of it. We also have a little Borok eye here as a claw, and I really like how they added tiles here to cover the Technic beam a bit. The upper part of the wings can be moved like this with one of these ratchet joints that's usually used like in AT-AT legs, for example, And this is just a really cool bit of extra posability. The lower part of the wing is covered with like different armor pieces, including some trans orange pieces, and this part is connected to the torso with one of these mech joints, which lets us rotate the wing forward and backward or flap them up and down. Looking at the wings from the top, you can see the full fiery pattern on these vinyl wings. It is held in place with these little Technic toe ball pieces here, and it's nicely covered here in the back with a dish actually on the joint. Here is also a look at the whole wingspan of this dragon, and this is just so crazy big. Behind the wings we can see this little crease, and you can see here that we have two of these AT leg hinge pieces in dark red and red. And these allow us to pose the torso side to side, which is another crazy cool bit of articulation. It works quite well, and I especially think it looks really good because of the colors and the way it's covered. It really doesn't look gappy or anything like that, no matter how you pose it. We also have a bunch of these little trans orange bits here for some fiery details, and we have a lot of these like running along the back of the dragon. There's only like a couple of studs on here, but I think that's quite good to have some to place minifigures on here. These trans orange pieces are a bit asymmetrical, but I think that makes sense for fire. From the bottom, this area is also covered quite nicely with golden pieces. Here you can get a look at the whole dragon belly, and I think this looks really nice for an area you might not even see a lot of times. The hind legs have some really nice shaping, and I additionally really like how they did the color layering here with the bright red on top and the darker red at the bottom. In the back we have some open anti-studs here, but the lower leg is very nicely covered up. I especially like the dark red area here on the side with these different tiles and slopes. It kind of looks like a bit of a scaly pattern, at least to me. There are also some trans orange details spread throughout the leg build, of course, and here from the front we can see that we have some kind of golden armor here on the knee. The leg can of course be rotated up here, forward and back, but you can see there's this little red spike in here that kind of limits how far you can go forward. I assume that's to improve the stability. The back feet are a bit simpler than the front ones, with a slope up here, an exo shield on the sides, as well as these trans orange spikes. The foot is on a ball joint once again, and this one doesn't even have the limiter in the back, so you kind of have even more of a range of motion. These feet have the mech fingers as claws here in the front, and just like the foot in the front, we have these rubber pieces for extra friction. The insides of the back legs look almost the same as they do on the other side actually. All the way in the back we have the tail, of course. The tail begins with this big segment with the big dark red slope with a sticker on it on both sides. There is a little bit of a golden armor here once again, and we can rotate the whole tail on this mech joint. This way we can see the top that has a bunch of these trans orange cheese slopes once again, and overall we have the normal red up here and the dark red on the sides. We can rotate this all around. You can see the other side as well as the bottom here. That is mostly normal red here once again, and we can see the brackets in the back segments. You can also move this tail from the side to side with the mech joint, so that way we have quite a good amount of articulation in the beginning of the tail. Then once we go further back we have double mixel joints between these segments, so we can only move these side to side, but I think combined with the rotation you can achieve a lot of different tail poses still. All the way in the back we have the new recolor of this blade piece we first got in crystallized, now in dark red and trans orange. I think this piece looks pretty nice in that color, and it's actually just attached with this little bar piece in here, and that can be a little bit flimsy, but if you push it all the way in, it's pretty much sturdy, and if you pull it out a little bit, you can actually move it side to side too. If we want to put the throne back on the dragon, we simply just place this square area on this brown piece on the back of the dragon, and then flip these connectors on both sides of the throne down so they connect with the little clips. Then it sits on the dragon pretty sturdily. After that we can attach the chain. We want to attach the chain to the neck like this, and then the double chain here on the neck, and with the little clip to the throne. This set has a whole bunch of spare pieces, of course, a little half mask for Kai for example, some katanas here, some armor, a brick separator, pretty good stuff. We have one sticker sheet, and I think that's not that many for a set this size, and a lot of them are actually on the throne part. This set comes with a total of 5 instruction booklets, and I really like how they show you which of the bags you're going to use in which booklet and what part of the dragon you're building in it. I think that's a pretty smart style. In the final one, we have some ads for the other sets in the back. And this set had paper bags for me, with only some of the small bags inside of the bigger ones still being plastic, but I think they're in the process of like switching everything over. Okay, it's time for my final thoughts and opinions on this giant dragon, and overall I was quite impressed building this. Big is not necessarily always great, in my personal opinion at least, but I think this set is big and great. Like, it's very good articulation wise despite like the weight and the size of it. And it's very well covered all around. I was really impressed with some of the building techniques, especially here in the torso they use to have studs on the side, top, and bottom to detail it all around, even areas you don't even see that much. And my favorite part at all, overall, is like that waist articulation we have in here. I was quite surprised by that, and it looks quite good and works quite well, so I'm really happy with that. The throne, I personally think this throne is a bit too exaggerated. I kind of prefer the look of the dragon without it, but you can of course easily take it off. And if it's going to have an important role in the story, which I kind of assume, it's very good to have it in the set, so I think that makes perfect sense. This set has 1,716 pieces, goes for around $150, so price per part where we want to be for a Lego set, and also like size or volume of stuff. This is a very big set, I get it, it makes sense. There's just a lot of really big sets in this wave. We have a pretty good minifigure selection. There's no exclusive minifigures if you don't count these little spirit dragons. But I think what they did with this set wave is there's basically 2 paths to getting a full ninja collection. You can either get this, the combo vehicle, and the Zane bike to get all the ninja, or you can get the Tournament Temple City and the Tournament Battle Arena. And I think it's kind of cool that you have like 2 options to a full collection. Overall, I think this is a fantastic set. I will definitely have to find space for it because like with the wingspan it's so big. And this kind of sets the standard for source dragons. There's more source dragons in the story, so I hope they all have like the same level of quality as this does, because this has a very high level of quality. And they're supposed to be these like majestic cosmic creatures, so it makes sense. I also really hope that if they do more source dragons, they might do some like other body shapes. This is your classic 4-legged European style dragon. And I hope we maybe get like more serpent-like dragons and other stuff like that that's a bit more out there. Overall, really like this set, recommend this set, and big thank you to Lan for sending us this set and letting me review this. If you want to see more Ninjago or Lego content, be sure to subscribe here to keep the peace. See ya!